So picking up where we left off, I am bringing the adjustment layer down so that the black and white only covers part of the stop motion. So you could do sort of like a Wizard of Oz thing where things suddenly become colorful again. But something you may notice is that this is sort of a harsh transition. So I may want to add a transition. So I'm going to go ahead and type in transitions here. All right, so under video transitions, I have quite a few options. I have dissolve options, immersive video options, iris, page peel, slide, wipe, and zoom. So by far and away, the most common video transition is this one, cross dissolve. And actually, if you right-click on your layer and apply a default transition, that is a cross dissolve. So what a cross dissolve does is it just takes the frame behind and in front of a layer and blends them. So this is black, so it is blending black in with our layer. Now, in this case, I don't love it, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. What I actually want is for the opacity of this layer, how transparent it is, to go down. So I'm going to do that with something called keyframing. So this gets a little bit confusing because there are different types of keyframes within Premiere and Adobe Animate. A keyframe inside of Premiere is going to record different numbers at a given time. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to go ahead and hit the stopwatch next to opacity here. So I have started the stopwatch on my keyframes. Only hit this stopwatch once. If you hit it again, you'll delete your keyframes. So I'm going to not delete my keyframe right now. So this is recorded that I have 100% opacity at this exact time. Now I'm going to scooch forward to the end of my layer here. And I'm going to drop that opacity now down to 0. So let's see what that looks like. Now you can see that the color has sort of slowly blended because I've very slowly dropped the opacity of my top layer down. Now if you want that transition to happen faster, you can move these keyframes closer together. And now the transition will happen a little bit quicker. All right, so that's all well and good. I think I actually want this effect to go all, well, we'll just leave it like that. But I want to go ahead and put a title on my animation here. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more wiggle room here. And make this a little bit longer. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put a text layer on top of this right here. And I'm going to name this Not Afraid. And remember to change your text font. You'll highlight your text, and then you'll go over here to the left with our little text drop down and change this. I'm going to change this to Courier. Wait. Courier. Come on. There we go. And I think it looks nice as white. Maybe I will change this to be right over here. And since this looks like typewriter font, I'm going to just make it a little bit longer. And maybe not start right away. I think I want this to come in like typewriter font. So some of your, if you have the newest version of Premiere, you may have an effect called typewriter, which you can just drag and drop on here. I do not have typewriter on this, so I'm going to use linear wipe. And I'm going to drag and drop that onto my type. Now I'm going to go over here to my linear wipe, and I'm going to hit the stopwatch again on it. to start it. At the very beginning, I'm going to drop this down to 100, or bring it up to 100, and then at the very end, I'm going to drop this down to 0. Okay. So one of the issues is that it's going backwards. I'm going to go ahead and change the wipe angle. So right now it's at 90 degrees. I'm going to change this to -90. And let's see. Okay, so that is going in the right direction, but it feels a little bit too fast for a typewriter. So I'm going to fix that by right-clicking on here and nesting it. So I'm going to call this type and hit OK. And click on my nest. And right-click on that and hit speed, duration, and I'm going to drop this down to 50. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to just shorten this a little bit. And I'll add a cross dissolve here. Shorten this up quite a bit. So one thing that I think would help this typewriter effect feel even more realistic is if I had a typewriter sound effect. So there are some sound effects that are within Premiere Pro itself. So let's go over to Essential Sound and make sure you're in Browse and SFX, and then type in typewriter. And you have a bunch of options here, so you can try them out. And don't worry, we can crop this down. So I like this one. I'm going to go ahead and go to these 3 dots over here and add to my project. And then I'm going to drag and drop that in. And now I'm just going to cut this down so that it actually makes sense. So I'll trim this. And bring it back. Let's see. So, it sounds like it has maybe one too many still. Maybe still one too many. Now let's go to like here. Okay, great. So I'm getting there, but I think that I need some sort of sound effect for this hand slime thing. So I'm going to go ahead and find something online for that. So if you go to the audio links that are provided on the audio links page in Canvas, I like to go to the YouTube sound library for my first sort of stop, at least, with sound effects. I don't like the music on YouTube, but I do like the sound effects. So let's go over to the sound effects, and I think I want it to be kind of slimy and gross, so I'm gonna type in meat and see what happens. Yeah, I think that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and download that. Remember to take your files out of your download folder and into your project folder. Okay, and now I can import that sound. And I'm going to bring that in my project. So let me zoom out a little bit here. Let's see how that plays. Let's start a little too soon. So I'm going to add some credits here and maybe a little cross dissolve at the end of this. Same as before, I will just type in a short stop motion by Ariana Swan. And I think I want to actually center, align my text, and center align that. And I'm going to use this align and transform to align it in the center of it completely. So finally, let me make it a little bit longer. And I will cross dissolve in and out of this. So let's make it just a little bit longer. Shorten our cross dissolves here. Right click here, apply default transition. Let's see what that looks like. A little bit too long, I think. There you go. Okay, so I'm also going to check the decibel levels between these two sound effects. So my first sound effect is really loud. It's actually maxing out my my decibels here, and they should be usually between -6 and -12. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to say audio gain -5. Let's see what that looks like. Still a little loud, so I'm gonna take off another 3 decibels or so. Perfect. And this is a little bit quiet. So I'm gonna add some decibels here. I'm gonna add 5. Let's see how that looks. Maybe just another 3. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with this. However, some of you may have wanted to add dialogue. So if you want to do a voiceover or have an actor do dialogue for you in your stop motion animation, you'll have to record that. There are lots of ways to go about that. I'm using this microphone here. Tried to set that down gently, I hope I did. I'm using this microphone because I'm in a big room, it's very reflective, lots of errant sounds, so I need a little bit of sound muffling so you can actually hear my voice while I'm talking. So if you want to use a professional mic, you have access to that at the Innovation Lab in Hale Library. They'll happily talk you through how to use all of the equipment. But if you're at home, actually your phone is pretty good at recording your voice, for better or for worse, right? So go onto a voice recording app. I have an iPhone, so I happen to have Voice Memo. And point it towards your mouth when you hit record. Make sure that you give yourself like a deep breath and you give yourself some space before you record and after you record so that you can crop things properly once you import it into Stop Motion Studio. The next thing is you'll want to make sure you're in an ideal environment for recording. So as I said, this is a bad environment for recording. Any sort of campus room is probably not going to be great for sound. But you want to be in a small place with soft things that can absorb sound. So a really good example is your closet. So take a flashlight in there, record your lines, and bring it into Premiere Pro and add it in just like we did sound effects. So I'm very excited to see what you did for your project too. Good luck, and I'll see you later.